Why do you then think people either intentionally or unintentionally neglect their partner in their relationships?
Well, part of it is I think because they're told that they're not told that that's what they're supposed to do, but that's what they're shown how marriage is. They are shown either by their own parents' marriage or by marriages on TV. Now, I grew up watching, Growing Pains and Full House and all that stuff, and but as I saw also how my parents did not reflect what I saw on TV. And then there were also some shows where it did. In the news, you always hear about divorces and child custody and all all these other things. And it's just, you don't hear very often the good news about marriages. You don't hear very often about the marriages that last a long time. And when you do, the first question people ask is, well, how did you do it? They don't ask people who were only married for 10 years, go, well, how did you screw it up? Right? They only ask the people who've been married for 30, 40 years, well, how did you do it? And my husband, bless his heart, he worked 3 jobs so that I could stay home with our kids. So it wasn't like it was an easy road for us to foster this marriage. But there were ground rules that we laid early on. We weren't going to fight in front of the kids. And if we were having a fight, we were going to wait to have a conversation after the kids went to bed. And this wasn't because we didn't want the kids to really see us fighting. I would have rather had the kids see us have conversations and try to work things out. But if it got to the point where we couldn't come to an agreement, it needed to wait because the kids did not need to see the bickering and the yelling and the name calling. And thank God that that rarely happened. I can say probably it happened maybe twice where we had to say, you know what, we need to step away because we cannot resolve this right now. And I'm very proud of that score that it's, twice in over 30 years.
I think that is a fantastic rule to have. And I wish it was like written in stone in the dating annals somewhere, right? Where people
Yeah.
can just say, okay, this is the Bible, this is the Quran, this is the Gita. These are the commandments. Well, there are commandments for marriages, but these are the dating and relationship commandments where it's like you need to follow these things. Because in my 20s, I remember I lived in a part of Toronto, Canada, which would probably be considered lower middle class.
Mhm.
So, and I apologize those who are living in lower middle class these days, but we're talking about back in the day where we actually were poor to be lower middle class.
Right.
These days, you can actually be rich and be
And be
lower
middle
middle class,
class. Yeah.
be middle class, right? So back then in the 1900s, as the young kids used to like, they like to call it, is I used to see couples fist fighting in public, right? And to me, as bad as I would say my childhood was, I never saw my parents fight. Definitely not physically, right? But I couldn't imagine a world where you have, let's say, a 3-year-old or a 5-year-old in the stroller and you're coming to blows with each other.
Mhm.
I know that you work with people and you have your own experiences. Do you find that relationships maybe in the more modern setting these days tend to not have that boundary, as you mentioned, where if there's an argument, it's whenever, however, wherever it happens?
Um, I think that honestly, I think that the younger generation is more in tune with not having some of those conversations out in public because I think they've seen how and people might hate me for this, but how boomers and some of Generation X have had those blowout conversations in public. I mean, we grew up in the age of talk shows. I mean, Ricky Lake, Jerry Springer, Jenny Jones. We had these talk shows where it was okay to call somebody a name on national television, pull their hair, kick and punch them. Like that was made to be okay. And that was exciting television. And I think now younger generations, they're much more, well, in my world, they seem to be much more subdued and not wanting to have that kind of attention. But that's just my world. Now, I don't watch the news. I don't, that stuff doesn't come across my social media feed. So I may be naive in that assessment. But I haven't seen that in my world. But it could be
Yeah.
happening.
Yeah, like I remember, like I think that was a thing of more of our generation or the generation around us. Whereas now, the only time I come across it, I haven't seen it in public, and that's a testament to I'm no longer around those types of people too,
Right,
right? So,
right. Yeah.
right, and that's another thing that I find interesting, and I'll get your input is that the more successful and healthy your relationships, it seems like either organically or by design, you surround yourself with people who have successful and healthy relationships. Do you find that
Oh,
happening to you?
absolutely. You attract what you focus on. So if you're focusing on um convinced that your partner is always cheating on you or always doing things that is not trustworthy, you're going to attract those things into your life. And so, I always tell whenever having conversations with women who are dating and they're concerned about their spouse, I'm like, have you asked them these questions? Have you talked to them? Well, no. Well, how do you know that they don't want to do these things for you? Have you told them that you want them to do things for you? That, I want you to take me out on a date. I want you to, no, because I want him to think of it. I'm like, you can't do that. You can't assume that your spouse knows what you're thinking.